know the other items that have a product ID between 1 to 3. So I tried to input capital to 1 to 3 after I put where product ID 1 to 3, then semicolon, and I liked, it was showing no, 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 no.
All right. So maybe when I walk you through this again, it might be clearer to you. So when we use when do we use the in operator? We use in
Yes,
operator when we have multiple values that we want to look at, right? So say for instance we let me see which table I can use here. Um, let me see what do we have here. Okay, so let's say that we want to look at. Let me just open these customers, for instance, and what we want to do is to look at customers who are from VA, CO, FL,
yes,
TX. So let me just write that down. Customers who are from states VA, CO, IL, TX. So in this case, you now have four different things you want to look at, right?
yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
because of that, it's possible for you to do where state equal to this, or state equal to this, or state equal to this. Recall that I told you that. So let me in fact do this. So this is use SQL store. I hope you've not forgotten
Sorry,
this.
sir. I I'm trying to. I was unable to see. I don't know if you can.
Oh,
I'm able
to
to see those words.
okay. So I should zoom in, right?
Yes, sir.
Can you see them now?
Yes, I can. I can.
Okay. So I was trying to say that you still know why we use SQL store, because that's where we select the database, the table we
Yes,
want to use,
to
right?
use. Yes.
So
Mm.
from here we do select star from what's the name of the table? Customers, right?
Customer. Yes,
Customers.
yes, sir.
So it's possible that we would do this. So if you look at this is state, right? State
Yes, sir.
where state equal to VA, or
Yeah.
state equal to CO, or state equal to IL, or state equal to TX. It's possible for us to do it this way, and if you in fact run this, we get this,
Yes, sir.
right? Now,
Yes, sir.
the the more um, appropriate approach would be, because we are beginning to repeat this, and as you can see we have state equal to state equal to state equal to state
Co-
equal to,
Yeah.
and so we are beginning to repeat this state equal to. And one of the things that is
Repetition.
bad about this is that it becomes difficult for us to maintain this. So instead of
Yes.
having state equal to state equal to state equal to, if you have a situation like this, it's best to do something like this, where state in VA, comma, CO,
Yes,
comma,
sir.
IL, comma, TX, and then you close the bracket, the parenthesis. And you know why we have this inside this quote? It's because this is a string, right? It's a character.
Okay.
It's a yes. I mean, if this were to be a number, we wouldn't have written
This
it inside a
the
quote
states
like
the
this.
states are the characters, right?
It's a character data type. So that's the way
Okay.
it's represented. It's represented as a character.
Okay.
Yes. So if we run this again, we get the same thing.
Okay, sir.
So, and as you can see, I already have one exercise here that I wrote down because I'm going to send you this. So you take this exercise. So
I
the
wanted to ask a question.
okay.
I wanted to ask a question. Um, for this kind of example now,
Mhm.
that the from the exercise you gave, that we want to know the other items that have a product ID between 1 to 2. So I can use where, then product ID, then open a bracket, then 1, 2, and do like that, and then run it, sir.
Yes.
I don't know if I can. Okay, I will try it because that is I did that capital where I use capital T O, which is two, one, yes, then 2, 3, and I was getting no, no, no. The product ID was showing no, the quantity in stock was showing no, the unit was showing no, and the name of the product was showing no. So that is why I said okay, I will make use of this now. Thanks, sir.
Okay. So um we can also use not, and not is just simply to negate a particular condition. So say for instance we want to pick those states that are not here. So if, essentially speaking, that would be more like saying that customers who are not from these states, and that would mean doing something like select star from customers where state not in VA CO IL TX, and if you put semicolon in that
Okay.
and you run this, you will get all the states, all the customers that are
That are
not
not
in
that
that
state.
state. So that's that about that. So when do we use between? Between is used when we have range. By range, I mean, so maybe you want to look at, um, say you want to look at customers are who were born before between two dates, just as I have it written here. But I'm not going to use this because I want to give you this as an example. But say we want to look at customers who, as an exercise rather. So say we want to look at customers who have points between 1 and 1000. So say customers who have points between 1 and 1000. So say we want to do this. How do we go about that? We do select star from, we are still looking at the customers table, right? Where what do we want to look at? We want to look at this column points, right? Where points, right?
Yes, sir.
Where points between, can bring this down, between what, 1
One to
and
1,000.
1000. So then notice that I don't have a quote here. That's because this is a number, it's an integer, it's a number, right? So
Why didn't we put the where between this between beside? Why did we move it down?
it doesn't make any difference. But I've done
Okay.
this.
Oh, it can be anyhow.
So all these spaces in SQL, they do not count, right? Just that you must be careful that you put them in their appropriate places. So for
Yes.
instance, if you do this, you know that you would get something wrong because there's no space between state and not,
Notes.
right?
Mm.
But it
Yes.
doesn't, but SQL doesn't care if you move this here. If you move it there and you still run this,
Yes. I need to see it.
you can see the result.
Yes, sir.
So it will still run. So most times when you see us just writing things like this, it's just for clarity, for readability, so that when next you come or someone else uses your application or your SQL script, the person will be able to quickly figure out certain things. You understand? So because you are not just writing for yourself, you won't be maintaining a company's work for the rest of your life, perhaps. So some other people would be employed later on to look at the same code that you have written, and so readability is actually key, right? So
Yes.
that's why we have this. So but the most important thing is to note that this is not in quote, this is not in quote either, and I'm going to put those in quotes, so let's see what happens. But for now, let me just run this and see if that works. And so we get this output where we see that the customers have who have points between 1 and 1000. So it's also possible for us to use a not here. So let's say we want to negate this. We want to look at customers who have points that are not between 1 and 1000. How do we go about that? And if you listen to the way I've just said it now, I said customers who have points that are not between. So invariably, it's you can just put the not here, where point not between 1 and
Okay.
1000. And if you try to run that, you get this. And so you see
All
that
right.
all that we have here are people who have points that are greater than 1000. And so one thing that you should have noted by now or noticed by now is that if you are able to really say it out
Yeah.
appropriately, you should be able to write it out appropriately. So when I
All
said
right.
customers who have points, essentially I'm
So the
saying
condition now is the
customers
point.
customers who have points
Yeah.
that are not between 1 and 1000. And if I say customers who have points between,
Not.
would be
Mm.
this: customers who have
Not
points between 1 and 1000. So it's like
1000.
you're saying English, it's like you're speaking English, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
just that now you are using the syntax of the SQL language, the query language. So that is basically what you have here. So I said I was going to try to put this in a quote the other time. So let's say that I have this as 1 and 1000, and I'll run this, and boom, I still have this as well.
So, sir, I wanted to ask, so can I use this example now for that question 4? Because this one now is talking about Celesta from other items where product ID between one, this one is 2, and we've not done that of 2.
You won't do that of two. So it's your how do I put it now? Just think of what I mean. We've done all these things we are doing are just
Yeah, yeah,
ways.
that is what I'm saying. I will just follow the
Yes, I don't
example
want
now.
to. I don't want to give you a clue to what your exercises are. I
All
want
right,
you.
sir, I
I want you to
understand.
think. Right. I want you to think. I want you to think through the problems, and then come
Yeah,
up with what you think. And the truth remains that there are multiple ways you can do some of these tasks. Right.
all
It's
right.
not just. I mean, for instance, I just showed you how, and did I close that? No, I didn't. So I just, okay, oh, I did. I just showed you how you could write this same statement using the or, right? Where
Yes, yes.
I did, and I don't know why I cancelled that, because I would have just left it, since I will send you this file later. From customers where state equal to VA, or state equal to CO, or um, or and or state equal to IL, or state equal to TX, and the semicolon there. And I think I ran this, and then it ran. So you can see two different approaches to do
Yes, sir.
this, right? And
Yes, sir.
if you then want to do the not for what you have up there, would be,
Okay.
um, let me bring this down so I don't need to start typing again. But this is just to show you that there are multiple ways you can do where state,
Yes.
where not state equal to this. Of course, in fact, here in this case, where not, you can do this and just put all that in bracket.
Bracket.
So it will check this condition. If it is true for at any point in time, then it negates it and makes it false. So if we try to run this now, you can see
Yes,
what
sir.
we have. So it's the same thing, just this and then this, the same thing. But as you can see, this looks shorter, and you are not, it's not only that it is shorter, but that you are not also duplicating one of your columns several times. So look at state here, look at state here, look at state here. We don't have all that here, we just have one state right here. So when I give you exercises like that and you have multiple options to pick from, think of which one is more efficient, in which one is more fitting or fitted for the task that I gave to you. So, and yeah, so this is an exercise I think I wrote down ahead of time. Oops, sorry, Control Z, and I'm going to have this. This is an exercise, exercise 2. This is exercise 1. And I don't want you to cram these things. Try to understand them. Try to understand how they work. Play around.
One of the things I've been able to pick from the last lesson we do was we talked about learn the entity and the conditions. Not and, between, in are conditions. They are conditions. Why customer, products, other items are entity.
Yeah. All right. So if let's move on to the like. So for like, think of this scenario. You have a database and you want to look for a particular client. So say a particular client whose name is John had come to your place, but you don't know which John it is, right? And you don't even know if that John is the first letter, the first, maybe it's in the at the beginning of the name of the person, or it's at the end of the name of the person. Or let's say you want to look for a particular, you want to look for people who have names that begins with P. So in that case, so let's say customers who have names that begin with P. So let's say this is what we have to write. In this case, one way to do it would be to use the like operator. And the like operator is like this. Still the same thing, select star from customers, and where, so what we want to look at, so let's say it's the first name, where the first name, and like, so we don't know, and so let's say we want to pick the names that start with P and as anything at the end of it.
Okay, sir.
Hmm? I forgot to end this with a semicolon. And you can see this, I mean, and it's good, you see this, I forgot to end this with a semicolon, and then you have this error here. One of the
Yeah,
things
but me, I put it in my book.
one of the things you might be thinking of is maybe this is where the problem is coming from. But if you hover
Yes.
over
So
this,
you
you
have
see
to
select is not
cross that.
valid at this position, expecting EOF. EOF is end of file, and so if you put that, it goes off. So let's run this and let's see what we have. There we go. So in this table of customers, there's nobody that has first name starting with P. So how about we change this to B, and let's see if we have anybody whose name begins with B. And then you can see Barbara
Okay.
here, whose name begins with B. So how about trying to see if any other person begins with say K, and we try to run this again. We don't have anybody. And how about trying A? We run these. Let's see if we have anybody. We have Hamburg, right? So that is one way to search for strings, to look for the names of people who have particular. And one thing about this is this, that now this is indicating that this begins with A. It's also possible for us to say we want to look for those names that ends with A. So this percent sign just means that give us anything, right?
That has to do with A.
Just give us before A. Let me interpret this somehow, that the last letter we want you to return to us is A. So A must be the last letter. But before A, it could be anything. It could be 2 letters, it could be 3 letters, it could be 4 letters, it could be just about anything, right? We don't care about what is before A, but A must be the last letter. So if we try to run this and we run this, you can see, so we have 3 people whose name ends with A, as you can see here. Any question?
No questions.
Okay, so how about if we
I
want,
wanted to ask, the names, can it be in small letter or capital letter or anyhow you put it?
it could be, it doesn't matter, the case doesn't matter actually. So if you have this, you still see it, even though I've changed this to capital letter A, but you still see it being the same thing. So another way you can use this is to have this percent before and after, just to indicate that we can have this A at anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's the end, it doesn't matter if it's the beginning, as long as someone has A in their name, we want to have that printed out. So if we do this, we run this, you can now see that even though this person's name didn't end with A, but there is A in between the person's name here, just right here. And for Amber, the name starts right at the beginning. For this person, the name is at the end, and the A is at the end rather. And for this person, the A is also at the end of this place. And so that's basically you um, how you use the like operator. So let me see what task I can give you in that regard. Okay, maybe I would think of what task to give you, but and again, it doesn't have to be just one letter, by the way. And I mentioned John the other time, and I know that there is no name as John in this table, but if there was John, say we have John, we have Johnson, we have Jones, we have so, and I'm just making these names up, but so let's say we have this as well, B Jones. So all these names, if you have them in your table, they will get printed out if you pass this like if you pass this argument into the like operator.
Okay, sir.
This value rather, if you pass it into the like operator. So if we try to run this, so let me try to run this, and we do this, as you can see, there's nothing here, right? So basically that's what you use like the like operator for. So is there any question so far?
No question, sir.
No question. So when I give you your exercises, I don't expect you to ask questions
Yeah,
because
yeah, no, no, not at all, sir. I'm getting along, sir.
okay, cool,
Very.
cool. So let's go to the next one. And just sorry. So for the next one, it's the regexp operator, and for the regexp stands for regular expressions.
Okay.
As you can see, the exp reg. So if you take all these and you merge it with this, that's where you get these from.
Okay.
Yep. So let's say that we want to look at customers, right? Let's say we want to look at customers, and just like the example that I gave up there to begin with, where we had to look for specific names. So let's say that we want to look for names that have John, or maybe that Elka. For instance, we know that there's Elka here in this table. We still do the same thing. Select star from customers, where first name. So the next thing you would want to do here would be regexp, and of course, why not, we can also put it right here, regexp. So what name do we want to look for? Elka. And if we do this, you can see that person with that name. And so let's say we want to look for two different people, and this is where this is more elegant than the like, and absolutely I would definitely suggest that you should, as much as practicable and as much as applicable, always use the regexp, because it's not only more efficient, but
Mm.
it's also more easily manageable, and it also allows you to do many things that this would not allow you to do. Like, for instance, if you have to do, so let's say you want to look for names like Elka or Barbara. I think there's Barbara there.
So you put slash, right? If I'm
Yes,
not
this is
okay.
not slash actually. It's the pipe operator, and
But
it's
please, I wanted to beg that if you can zoom it. There is no light and I'm stressing my eye.
oh, okay. Let me put that to 160 then.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I can see
Is
clearly
it better
now.
now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So where you have Elka or Barbara,
Bab-
and so if we try to run this, you can see, okay, so we don't have Barbara, but this is how you, and you can have multiple search parameters here.
Okay.
But one thing again that you can as well do here is to use this operator here and say, give us anything that starts with BA. And so if you run this, I think we should see that name now, Barbara, so I misspelled it. It was just Barbara. But basically speaking, that's, this just says give us anything that starts with BA here. So if I would interpret this, it would mean give us those names, the customers whose first name starts whose first name is Elka, hmm? Or
Mm.
their name starts with BA. So you think of writing the entire thing out here as wanting to look for the entire string. However, if you use this, you are saying start with. Hmm? That's what
Yes,
you're
sir.
saying. So let's say that we want to look for all the names that ends with, or no, or even um, start with B, for instance. Let's see if we have more than one. Let me comment this, and let's try to run this. Let's see what we get. So we have two people. We have Elka and we still have Barbara. So we don't have more than one person whose name starts with. Let's see if we have people whose name starts with T, and you have
T.
it right here,
Yeah.
right? So what have we done? If, for instance, you change this Elka to Elk, and then you try to run this, what do we get? We still get Elka,
Yes, sir.
right? Because it just looked for this name. And let me remove EL, and then we have this, we still have Elka. Is that clear so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can, and I just told you now that you can have multiple statements like this. You can say, okay, where it starts with B, or um, where it starts with R. And if you run this, you do this, and so you have all these names. So if you look
Yeah.
at the names, you have, what were we looking at? EL. If it has EL in it, or it begins with T, or it begins
So
with
I
B.
wanted to ask this thing that is up beside this T. What is that?
Which one?
Okay, I put it on my system too.
This one, or the
Mm-mm.
caret. This is the caret of,
Correct.
yes, it's
Correct.
the um it's the caret, it's called caret.
Carrots.
Yeah.
Okay. I've seen it on my system too.
Okay. So of course you should have both of these on your
Yeah, I have
system.
this one on 6, that carrot on 6, and this other one. I,
Yeah, exactly.
I've not seen the okay, I have seen it.
Okay, so let's say that, and one of the places where this is more elegant as well is that we can now say, okay, um, say we want to look for names that have R, K, L, and then that ends with A, right? We want names have that end with A, but we only want names that before A they have R, they have K, and they have H, right? Now, as you can see from here, so let me first print this out. Select star from customers where first name um, regexp regexp. So this I'm going to say that if it has A in it, just give me anything that has A in it. So if I run this, you see all the names that have the A, right? So there's Amber, there's A in Amber, there's A in Barbara, there's A in Elka, there's A in Tacha, there's A in Romola. So, but now the condition I want to give here now is customers whose first name ends with A, or whose, sorry, not ends with actually, whose first name contains A and as contains A and as um, a R or H or L before it. So what I'm trying to say here is, because I know that what I've written here may not be it may be a little bit confusing, but what I'm trying to say here is, if you look at Romola, you have L before A. If you look at Thatcher, you have H before A. If you look at Elka, you have K before A. If you look at Amber, it's the beginning. It's right at the beginning. If you look at Barbara, you have B before A, right? So if we now want to pick out those names, maybe we don't want to pick all the names. It's not all the names we want to pick, but few names. And few names we want to pick are the ones that have A in them, right? And then not just that they have A, but that before the A you see R, H, or L. And how do we do that? So we do select star from customers where first name regexp what? So in this case, now don't forget the quote, but in this case we are going to say that what we want is R or H or L, and after that we want A. And
So
let me forget
we did not
this.
use this time around.
So this time around we don't need the pipe, operator.
Okay.
Yes, the pipe operator is to indicate or, right? But this
Yes.
time around we have put this square bracket to indicate that we would have different characters inside that square bracket, and what you have inside this square bracket just indicates that it treats each character as a separate character. So if we run this, what we have are just three names now, as opposed to what we had when we ran this. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 names here, and all of those names have he. But now we have narrowed our search down to those that have RHL before A. And so you can see we don't have Amber anymore, and we don't have the other one as well. That's because they do not satisfy this condition. I know that this can be a little bit confusing, but as you look through these exercises, and I'm going to definitely make this script available to you, and as you
Okay.
go,
Okay, you send it to me, sir.
absolutely, I will do that. And as you look through these exercises, just ensure that you take some time to practice with some other tables that you have in
Yeah. Yes.
these
Yes.
databases. Practice with
Yes.
other tables and then get used to using some of these things.
All right.
So one more, of course, we have a lot of things to still look at right here. So I was just saying that one of the places that this is also still more elegant is, say we want to look for names. So we want to look for customers whose first name contains a, right? And as and as and as letter the letters, how do I put this now? Okay, the letters before it, between A and J, for instance. So I don't really know how to word this appropriately, but essentially what I need is this. So if you look at anything, if you can find a name that has BA, or of course I said between A and J, right? So if there's any place where we have AA, or we have BA, or we have CA, or we have DA, or we have EA, or we have FA, or we have GA, or we have HA, or we have JA. Now that's the last one, right? As you can see, this is actually a sequence because this is more like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I forgot I there. So I, A. So if you have names that have this pattern, so maybe any name that has two A in between, or BA or CA, it doesn't matter now because we didn't specify. Don't forget that this caret here is to specify, is to denote that it starts with. But in this case, we are not saying it starts with, right? We're just saying that it contains AA or BA. It doesn't matter where it is. It could be at the end of it, it could be at the beginning, it could be in the middle, but it must satisfy this condition: CA, DA, EA, FA, GA, HA, IA, JA. So if you have this kind of thing that follows a particular sequence, just as you see here, instead of you to now start writing, one of the things that you would want to think of is maybe select star. Now that we have done from customers where first name, um, first name, then you would want to say regexp. And if you follow the last example, you might want to say, okay, I'm going to have these, and then I'm going to have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, right? And then at the end of it, I have A, right? This would be your first instinct if after watching this one that we did here, right? Because now you know that from this one, it picks AA, it picks BA, it picks CA, picks DA, picks EA, FA. We don't need to write the OR pipe any longer because we now have this we have this square bracket.
Yeah.
Right? So this is one approach. And I've told you now that in SQL you have several approaches to doing one thing, right? So you don't look at one code and say this is the only way to do it. Most times you get different approaches to solving a particular problem. So in this case, let me now introduce you to something else that you can do. So select star from customers where first name regexp. So again, don't forget the quote and then the square bracket. So instead of writing A, B, C, D, now because you know that this is from A, B, you know that this is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, right? Instead of you to write that, you can just do A dash J and then A right here. So this statement here, what we've just written here, is equivalent to what we have here. And let me say this, that this works because we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J in that sequence, right? It will not work if, for instance, the task is to do A to C and then you jump D, E, F and then you have G, H, I, J. This will not be correct. I hope you understand what I mean. So
Yes,
if the task is to get ABC, ABC, and then so let's say we have ABC, GHIJ, this will not be correct if this is what you have as your question. This will be wrong because this is following a sequence A through J, right? And A and J inclusive. So let's see if we run this. If we run this now, we should have the same result as what we have here.
yeah.
So if I run this now, as you can see, was it the same thing? Barbara Thatcher, right?
Yeah.
And we run this again. Let's see if we have the same thing. Barbara Thatcher. So but you can see how this is. So imagine you want to do A through Z, and you start writing J, K, L, M, N.
So I can write
Right.
it like this.
So you just do A through Z.
Then I write.
Then what you have there. But for now, this is the question that I wrote here so that you don't get confused. But that's it. So this is actually a more elegant approach, as you can see, because the like operator cannot do all these things that we are doing here. You have to do it in a different way, and it's going to be more tedious. And now know that you can also have not operator here. So not goes anywhere as long as you have condition in that place. Not can go with it, right? So where first name not regexp. You understand that? So where first name not regexp this. And so if we try to print this out, what we have are those names that do not have A, B, A, C, A, D, A. You understand what I mean, right? Just to continue from there. So any questions so far?
Questions, sir? No questions, sir.
No question. Okay. So the final one I would want to look at here would be to look at the names that ends with. Now I did say that this is the caret is for starts with. There's also another one here in the regular expression that you use for ends with. And that operator is this, the $sign. So if you want to look at where say for instance they say give us the names that ends with y for instance. So customers whose name ends with y. So how would you approach that? That would be select star from customers where first name, or this time around let me use last name, where last name regexp, last name regexp, and we want to look for names that ends with y. Of course, the first thing is to always do this. So the way we would want to do that would be to have a dollar sign like this, ends with y. So if we run this, let's see what we have. We don't have anything. Now, now you would see the difference, because, and again, it's very very good for me to stress this, that you see the difference, right? And the difference in output, because we actually have names. So if you look at this, when I ran this, I didn't get anything. There's nothing, right? And that's because I didn't place this dollar character, I didn't place it in the correct place. So it's like saying that, we want anything that already ends, but I mean, we don't care about this y. If we really care about the y, then you put this dollar sign has to be at the end, right? Because we are saying ends with. That's what this means. And if you recall, when we did the caret, this one, we put it at the beginning. So look at it right here. It's at the beginning, right? So that same error that you are getting there will also be applicable here if you put that caret here. So I have to stress that, because that might be one of the mistakes that you might make. Don't put the dollar sign before the character, it's at the end of it. So think of the dollar sign as ends with, end, it has to be at the end. And think of the caret as before this, or starts with. So when you say starts with, you know that you put the caret before anything you want it to start with. And I failed to mention that it doesn't necessarily have to be just one character you have here, right?
All right.
And the same thing with this as well. So let's say you want to look for, let me print this out first, where the last name is this, and you can see we have all this last name that ends with ey, ey, by, ay. And so let's say that, for instance, instead of having to end with y, we want it to end with ey. And if we try to output this, you can see that now we have only those that end with ey. Right. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think those are basically the things that you have here in regular expressions. And yep, I don't know if you have questions. I think you can then go for your questions now. Otherwise, I'm going to have exercise.
I don't have questions
here. So for this one, we get the customers whose first names are Elcar and Freddie. Or let me say that Barbara and Freddie, and whose last names end with EY or ON, with last names start with MY or it contains SE. Now, you recall what, when we say contains, by now I think you should know which of these is contains. And I mean, it's even good if you don't know it, so you can at least brainstorm a little bit. Where the last names contain B followed by R or U. So You have
Thanks.
all these as exercises.
All right, sir.
So I think I should stop here so I don't burst your brain because I know that this is a lot. I'm actually
Yeah.
surprised you said you don't have questions. But yeah, maybe
I've
when you
been
look
asking
at
my
this,
question
yeah, yeah,
in between the class.
yeah, you have actually. So I think that'll be all for today. Um,
Okay.
I think from here now, um, where would have to go to would be um, let me see what will be the next thing. We'll talk about the null operator and then we'll look at the order by. We already looked at limit, right? So,
Yeah.
but we'll look at the null operator and then we'll look at the order by. And from there, we then move to more advanced concept where we look at the joins. Yeah, and absolutely one of the very key aspect of SQL where you have to join multiple tables together. Because, for instance, let me just give you a little bit of introduction to what we would expect to see. You know, there was a time I gave you something, and I told you that you should look for people whose office ID is one. We won't
Mm.
be saying something like that because, I mean, so say for instance, we look at this client. If you look at the client, you have this old table, right? But if you come to invoices, for instance, when you come here, you see that the client is just represented by the client ID. We don't have the name of the client here, right? And are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So, and if we want to know the client who has this invoice, we are not so concerned, we are not concerned about the ID of the client, right? What we want to know is who is that particular client, what's the name of the client, where does the client, things about the client that you would want to know. Maybe where does the client live, what city, what state, what's their phone number, we would like to give them a call, something like that. This ID doesn't really tell you anything. It doesn't tell you anything about the client, right? So the way you would be able to get the information about this client while you are still using this table would be to join this client table with the invoice table. So for
Okay.
instance, if you want to know the clients, we want to know clients whose invoice total is more than 150, right? we we look at this invoice total. Yes, we can see that some of them are more than 150, right? But
Yes, sir.
when we look at this client ID, it doesn't tell us anything about the client apart from the fact that this is the ID of the client, but we don't know the first name of the client. We don't know the name of the client. We don't know the address of the client. We have no much detail about this client. And so that's essentially what it is, and that's what we'll be expecting. That's what we'll be doing next after we've looked at the null operator and then the order by. Um, yeah,
Okay, sir.
that's it. So
Thank you very
if
much.
if there is no question,